The gray dawn was slowly creeping through the tattered wisps of clouds, as if someone were carefully sifting the light through a rusty sieve. The air was still, thick as cold soup. Not a single sound, not a single movement, just a silence that hung in the air like an unexploded mine. Andrew stood on the lawn outside the old abandoned castle, clutching a tin mug in his hand. The coffee inside had long since gone cold, but he didn't even try to drink it. The wind fluttered the shabby tablecloth on the strange wooden table that had somehow ended up in the tall, parched grass. He had no idea how he'd ended up here. Or rather, he knew, but he didn't want to admit it. The castle loomed, ugly and mangled, with crumbling roofs and windows gaping black emptiness. There was something about the walls, mottled with deep cracks, that was wrong, like they were breathing or waiting. 10 years ago, Andrew was a different man. Young, cocky, confident. He chased sensation without thinking about the consequences. One day, one gloomy fall day, he received a strange letter. A yellowed envelope with a wax seal, which has not been used for a long time. Inside was a scrap of paper with hurried, tattered letters. They come at dawn. If you dare, come. No signature, no explanation, just coordinates. He ignored the letter, shoved it in his desk drawer and forgot it. But the letter didn't forget him. Years later, it reappeared in a box of junk covered in dust, but in perfect condition. And now it's here. The sound of footsteps on the grass made him flinch. From behind him, as if from thin air, 3 men appeared. A man in a long cloak, a woman in a leather jacket, and a third, hunched, short, with his face hidden by a hood. They didn't look dangerous, but something in their postures and movements said they were strangers. Not just to this place, to the whole world. "You're late," the man in the cloak said, his voice like a metallic clang that didn't match human chords. 10 years? The woman bowed her head, smirking as if she knew something he didn't. Andrew felt cold goosebumps run down his back. What does that mean?" He didn't recognize his own voice. The hunched man raised his head. There was emptiness in his eyes. Deep, inky, like a gaping abyss. "Breakfast," he wheezed. "It will begin when everyone has taken their seats." The lawn seemed to have changed. Andrew was sure. The table had just appeared. The wood looked too fresh, as if it had grown here and then decided to become furniture. They sat down. There was a plate in front of each of them. "What is this place?" Andrew squeezed out. The man in the cloak slowly passed his fork over the empty plate. The clinking of metal on ceramic made Andrew clench his fists. "This is where those who don't know how to let go come." "Let go of what?" He felt his breathing become ragged. The woman leaned forward, her smile like a jagged scar. The ones they'd forgotten. There was a thud in his temples. "But I didn't lose anyone." All 3 of them looked at each other. "Are you sure?" the hunched one asked. Then something soft touched his shoulder. Andrew slowly turned around, and behind him stood a man. No, it was him. The face was an exact replica. Only the eyes. Empty, no irises. Nothing. The shadow leaned closer. "You've forgotten me," she whispered. A voice, his own. "Who are you?" Andrew asked with parched lips. The shadow bowed its head and said one name. His name. Andrew woke up on the cold ground. The castle was gone. The lawn was gone. Only the dry, cracked soil beneath him. Nearby lay a mirror, small with a faded frame. He picked it up. The reflection was not his face. It belonged to someone he didn't know. And when the eyes in the mirror blinked, not in time with his movements, he screamed, because he finally remembered. But it was too late.